Hello and welcome to Healthy Mind and Healthy Life podcast with your host Avik. So today we are exploring the surprising connection between mental health and comedy, and we are thrilled to have AI joining us as our guest. So AI is truly jack of all trades, I would say, because he's an entrepreneur, he's comedian, rapper, ninja, and world traveler. I can't believe how can you manage all those things. So he has been self-employed since the age of 12, and he has achieved impressive success in a variety of fields. He created a golden cricket from scratch and raised $150,000 in the first 7 months. That's really great, I would say. So he's been stand-up comedy for 7 years, has two rap albums on Spotify with over 1 million views, and has been training in martial arts for 2 hours a day for past 3 years. So today we are going to hear from AI about how he's used humor and comedy to navigate difficult times in his life and how it's helped him to maintain a healthy mindset. We are so much excited to dive into this topic with him, and so let's just not wait, let's get started. So thank you AI for joining this show, and like if you can tell me something about yourself and how you're feeling today.
I think I appreciate the intro. That pretty much covers it, although it made me sound a lot cooler than I would paint myself. But that's it's important to paint yourself in a positive light. So I should probably think of myself more along those lines as well. Anyways.
No, that's true, that's true. But so I have few things in my mind, like when we are talking about healthy mindset and the comedy. So just to start, like, can you tell us a bit more about the connection between comedy and the mental health? Like, what is it about the humor that can be so powerful in helping us cope up with difficult emotions or expectations?
Well, first of all, I think comedy is inherent in nature and the universe, and there's something. If you stare at any animal long enough, eventually it could do something that'll make you laugh. And that's how humanity has managed to survive all these millions of years is we've been through so much tragedy and misery and pain and sorrow, and it's hard to imagine a history of humanity of nothing but crying. I think we were able to push on and continue with our paths by cracking jokes and being able to laugh at the pain. And I'm sure we all in our own personal life, everyone listening to this has had times where things get hard. And then you just have so many bad things happen to you. Eventually, it's just funny. You're like, all right, this is a joke at this point. It's just piling on. And life has an interesting way of pushing you to that point where it kind of forces you to have to laugh at your problems because you've maxed out your anger and upsetness, or that's not a word. You're as upset as you can possibly be, and then it just keeps piling on. And like I got a boot on my car the other day, and it didn't even bother me because I try to just go right to the laugh instead of waiting for it to pile up. So it's been now I won't say that makes me mentally healthy. I will say that a lot of people in the past have said it is in fact the opposite because I just laugh about everything. So it can make some people feel uncomfortable if everything is a joke, but I would rather consider everything a joke and enjoy my life than to deprive myself of laughter to satisfy other people.
True. True. That's interesting. That's and true as well, for sure. So, like, so many comedians and performers have spoken openly about their struggles, their I mean, hurdles with the mental health issues. So, why do you think this? Why do you think this is? And how can a comedy be both a source of healing and a way to break down the stigma around the mental illness?
Well, mental illness is a strange term because it groups select individuals as like certain people have mental illnesses, when in reality, every single human is mentally ill. Every single person. It's not possible to just be a perfect being. So
True.
we're every single one of us are completely out of our minds in some regard.
Okay. Okay. So that means like,
Also,
yeah. Yeah, yeah, please, please.
also, um, it's very common for comedians to consider themselves mentally ill in terms like anxiety, depression, or what have you. Just all those terms are really just increased levels of the same spectrum that everyone is on. But I've met people before that have been really beat down by life and they didn't have a sense of humor about it. And they really just seemed scared and timid and unhappy. Whereas the comedians I know that have been through similar things, they seem fun. They're fun to hang out with. They're laughing, and quite often there's a lot of pain and tears behind that laughter, and it's just a mask. But better to have a happy mask and be sad deep down than just to be sad overall.
Correct. So it's you mean to say like, uh, so we are honored to have you because you are obviously a comedian, and so you try to make people laugh, you try to make people feel happy. So that's a medicine, I would say, right, for people who are feeling uh, the mental issues or the illness they are going through. So that's a small part of their life that you are trying to change so that it can be a kind of bigger image you're trying to create. So that's really very great thing. And not every people can make people laugh. It's a very tough thing, I would say. And that's great, like hats off to you, like how you are managing all those things. It's really great. And with this, like, uh, just thinking, like, for someone who may be looking to use the humor and the comedy, okay, so as a tool for improving their mental health issues or the mental health and the well-being thing, so what are some specific techniques or maybe the practices you would say that you want to recommend to people?
Well, that's hard to say because comedy is not something you can just tell someone how to do. It's something that you really got to start out by doing it for yourself. So if you're trying to use comedy in your own life, you should be thinking, how can I make this funny for me? Like when I started doing comedy, it wasn't it was more of a selfish endeavor. It wasn't as much about making other people laugh. I wanted to make myself laugh. My first priority in life is always to entertain myself. So that that brings a sense of authenticity to the table to where when other people connect with it, then they're connecting with the version of me that's trying to impress myself. So I guess it sounds like bad advice, but whenever terrible things happen, I just try to make jokes about them.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean go tell your family your jokes if your grandma dies and go
Correct.
start joking about how your grandma died to your parents.
True.
But I have like a personal journal where I jot down everything. So when things go wrong, I write down a joke about it.
Okay.
I can't tell you how to write a joke. I don't even know if I'm doing it right, but I do know that when something goes wrong and I immediately try to turn it into a joke, I feel better.
Okay. So, like, that's something I really, the first time I'm hearing this, but it's something different. But it's good. Like, if you're feeling good, so there's no harm. So it's really good thing. But it's often said, matlab, like mostly people said, like laughter is the best medicine. So, but is there any specific evidence to support this claim? Like, have you ever come up to this thing? Like, any evidence you have found, or what does the research tell us about the mental and the physical health benefits of laughter and the humor? So, anything, any evidence you have found, something?
Well, I think medicine is the best medicine. I don't I don't think laughter is medicine. I think it's therapeutic, it's good for bonding experiences. It's it's kind of like a natural beer, I guess, which beer can help facilitate more laughter, but I don't condone drinking or drug use at all. I'm completely sober. But there's several things that need to be in place to elicit laughter, and generally that is human connection, which is a prerequisite for an overall sense of happiness in your life. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people, I don't know actually. Have you ever just been by yourself just thinking and then you start laughing hysterically because of your own thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. It happens most of the time. Like, I'm doing something, or maybe I'm sitting idle, but I'm thinking something, and suddenly something came to my mind, and I just loved, just remembering those situations happened or things happened with me. So yeah,
All right, just making sure I'm not crazy. So yeah, in that regard, I guess you don't really need human connection to make yourself laugh.
correct. So yeah,
But
and
I mean, the most important, the best medicine is really exercise and sleep and water. Just to be clear, laughter is amazing, but it is a luxury. It's we don't always have the chance to be able to laugh. Sometimes we are too busy working. I mean, if you can laugh while you're working, that's nice too, but I don't want to put laughter as too high up on the priority scales before, basic physiological needs.
okay, okay, that's
But
that's
I will tell you, if you're well slept and exercised and hydrated, you can set the table for creating more laughter.
true.
A lot of life I feel like is front loading the workload. So you do more now so you can reap the benefits from it later.
Correct.
Like I was thinking the other day about how exercising, growing your business, being funny, these are all traits that make you more attractive to the opposite sex. And if you spend more time making yourself attractive, then you can spend less time convincing them why you're attractive. It's just easier to get them to see your value.
True.
And it's same with like if you spend a lot of time exercising when you're younger, you'll spend less time seeing doctors when you're older, stuff like that.
That's the true thing. Yes, but somehow I believe like we there is also a thing like I have seen people like they try to do these things. They try to do exercise daily. They try to follow the routine, like having good food, good sleep, doing exercise daily. But somehow, somewhere in the mind, it also comes like I will do, but that I will never comes. So this thing happens, I have seen with most of the people. Like any anything you want to relate here or something?
What you're saying, that people want to start getting healthy, but then they just don't do it?
True.
Well, then they don't want to be healthy. They want to make their lives hard and suffer and live a lower tier existence.
Okay.
I mean, anyone can make it happen. Everyone has the time in the day. Like, personally, I don't watch Netflix or watch movies or consume content, really. So if anyone has time to do that, then they have time to exercise.
Yeah.
And even if you're working, I mean, you could take breaks and do some push-ups at your desk. I used to do that too when I was working in a mortgage brokerage.
Okay.
Or if you're working in a, like, I've been to a lot of like Southeast Asian countries where there's like 70-year-old women hauling bags of like food and up and down the street in a cooking on the side of a tuk-tuk. Like, that's exercise right there. If you're moving around a lot, that can be worked in. But the sedentary lifestyle it's very new. It hasn't been around very long. The ability to just sit and get paid to sit just enough to cover your rent and expenses, barely, if you're lucky, is a novel phenomenon. So it shouldn't be that hard to break that cycle. It is, though, for a lot of people, but it shouldn't be. If you just gain the perspective of thinking how 99.9% of humanity has not been sitting at a desk, you should be able to motivate yourself to get up. And once you do motivate yourself, you need to realize that motivation is not what's gonna keep you there. It's discipline. It's doing it when you don't want to. That's huge. Because if you don't exercise when you don't feel like it, next thing you know, you've gone a few days and now you feel bad about yourself for not having worked out. Whereas if you get the workouts done days in a row and you haven't felt like working out the whole time, then when you do feel like it again, you're like, okay, well, I've been consistent. And then you prove to yourself that you've been consistent. So you have an increased level of confidence, because confidence comes from competence and competence comes from results. So if you're able to show yourself that you can do the things that you're trying to do, then you're constantly raising the bar for yourself to you start out with small challenges, like 50 push-ups a day sounds like a lot to a lot of people. But if you space them out, you can easily get that. Anyone can easily do 50 push-ups in a day, even if you just do one at a time every couple hours. I got to work the math on that. Maybe you'd have to do 4 push-ups every 12 hours.
True.
But, and then you do 48. But it's really just about starting somewhere and then continually increasing. And you can't let up, not for a day. You got to keep going.
True. So with this, like someone who may be struggling with their mental health and also looking for ways to get some levi into their lives. So what advice you would like to give them on how to start incorporating more laughter and humor into their daily life?
Well, mental health is a direct result of physical health.
Yeah.
Your mental health is about the state of your brain. It's not about your mind or your soul, because those are higher dimensional things that are tied to your brain, which funnels your spirit through your body in this dimension. So The only way that scientists and medical professionals have ever found that you can increase your IQ, your intelligence, your memory, your cognitive abilities, the only way is through exercise. So if you are really concerned with your mental health, which everyone should be, then you need to exercise every day because it gets the blood flowing in your body. The capillaries in your brain are blood, obviously. So, I mean, it makes sense that when you stay moving, that the blood flow increases and expands to your brain. So you need to, when you're exercising, you're not just, maybe you don't even care about losing fat. Maybe you're not concerned with your physical appearance. It goes so much deeper than that. It affects all of your organs, including your brain.
Correct. That's correct. Yes. But yes, those guitars are actually tempting, and like music is something which creates a good vibe into our minds, and that's also, we can also sometimes call it as a music therapy. So we listen to songs and we feel good. So this is also sometimes it's related to our mind, or we can say it's something which actually help us feel good. So
Yeah, that's true, man. I listen to music 24/7. I listen to it when I drive. It's kind of like my theme music. I listen to this. I don't know what genre you'd call it. It's kind of funky,
okay.
but it's mostly instrumental. And it kind of sounds like the background of a James Bond movie where I'm just driving around feeling like the main character. And
Yeah.
and music's super important to me. I mentioned earlier I don't really consume content. I don't watch movies or TV shows or whatever, but I do consume a ton of music. I'm always listening to music. And sometimes I'll feel a little bit off, and I'll think to myself, why don't I feel 100% right now? And it'll be because I'm sitting in silence. And then I throw on the music and it just gets my head right. It's a weird phenomenon that music changes your mood because there's nothing quite like it in nature. I mean, the closest we could come to music is birds and crickets chirping. Crickets, this is my company, Golden Cricket. I make cricket protein bars. But
True.
there's an interesting fact. Someone told me this. I didn't even know that if you multiply the amount of times crickets chirp per hour by a certain number, I don't remember. I should know that because I just brought this up, but it will tell you the temperature in Fahrenheit
Okay.
that it is outside. So the concept of sound on intervals is essentially what music is. And I mean, birds and crickets will be kind of going to their own tempo, but music, it's like they're all on the same beat. And it's kind of like this universal language where it speaks this unable to articulate meaning into you. And it just like it comes from the universe. I mean, that's kind of what universe, the word universe is one verse song. So it's like the universe is all one song. So it's producing this massive song at all times that if you listen to it all at once, just doesn't really sound like much. But if you isolate it, then using humans as the instruments, then humans being the instruments using musical instruments can translate it into these more narrow avenues of sound that can just enter your ear holes and make your brain go nice.
True. True. That's really true. So that's great. That's great. AI is like a lot of things quite similar, but it's very true that we try to follow this, but somehow we fail to do that. But we should definitely follow the routine which are daily, and we should be disciplined, as you have mentioned already. So yes, and so that's a wrap for today's episode for Healthy Mind and Healthy Life. So I hope like people have enjoyed listening to your insights on the surprising connection between the mental health and the comedy. So, like as we have all learned today about the humor and the laughter, so it can be a powerful tools for coping with difficult emotions and experiences. So, as well as also promoting better mental health and the physical health as well, for sure. So, whether it's through watching a funny movie, or maybe attending a stand-up comedy show, or just sharing good times or the love with the friends and the families, finding ways to incorporate the humor and the comedy into our lives can be a great way to boost our mood and improve our overall well-being. So thank you, AI, for sharing your experiences and expertise with us today, and to our listeners definitely. So I hope like people have found this episode informative and inspiring as well. So I'll just request all my listeners, like if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to us over social media or via our website. And always, as we encourage you to take what you have learned today and always apply to your own life. So thank you for tuning to Healthy Mind and Healthy Life podcast, and we look forward to sharing more episodes with you soon. So thank you, Ellie. Thank you, Ellie, for joining, and makes it's a great success actually, I would say.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
That's great.